The theme of this video is suggested by regular poster Super Stubbies, who basically asks whether we'll flatten the stadium and rebuild it in a purpose-built stadium, rather than its current incarnation, which is a converted athletics ground. Now, this is a big subject. It sort of feeds into a wider argument, which is, will the owners sell the club? Because if they don't sell the club, then the stadium stays exactly as it is. Don't get me wrong, it might get polished slightly, might get rolled in glitter. We might well stick a carpet in, stick a few signs up, but inherently it will stay as a dome. And with the seats a long way from the pitch, which is, I think, was his major concern. And let's be fair, it is a long, long way from the pitch. You can try and put optical illusions in like a carpet to make it feel more homely, but it's vast. It is an absolute chasm between the front row of fans in the middle of the pitch and actually the touchline. So I think they keep it as it is. And the reason I think they keep it as it is because they bought West Ham as an investment and to sell on. Do I think that if somebody else comes in, will they change the configuration of the stadium? Well, it's a possibility. But first of all, let's look at Sullivan. They bought the club for 50 million. I believe. And there was I won't bore you, you all know what happened with the Icelandics and all of that sort of thing, but it was very much the plan. If you listen to their first ever press conference, the Olympic Stadium, as it was called then, and probably still should be called now, by the way, the Olympic Stadium was very much mentioned, and they said they were going to go for it. It was all part of the business plan, no doubt about it whatsoever. And to understand this, you've got to understand business people and people that are entrepreneurial. So if you gave me 5 million quid, and if anybody does want to, you're more than welcome if any of you won that 169 million on the lottery. If you gave me 5 million quid, I'd be on the beach. I'd have a few more pinballs, I'd have a bigger man cave, and I'd be enjoying life. An entrepreneur doesn't think like that. An entrepreneur gets 5 million, they turn it into 10 million. They get 10 million, 10 million's not enough. They get the mansion, they get the yacht, they want more. They want to turn it into 50 million, 100 million. And that's what these guys are like. And every other entrepreneur. They love the deal. They have a thirst for the deal. They want to earn more and more and more. Some of them are not even, some entrepreneurs don't even particularly spend the money. It's just they like accumulating wealth. They like making business deals, and this is certainly the case with Sullivan. If it wasn't the case, then they would have been like me when they got their first 5 million, 10 million. When they had enough money to be comfortable for all of their lives, they would have stopped, but they didn't. I remember watching an interview or something with Sullivan, and I think it was at his mansion. He was taken past a swimming pool, and the interviewer said something about the swimming pool, and Sullivan pretty much said, "Oh, don't go in it." He's not enjoying the fruits of his labour. He's on the phone doing the next deal, making the next negotiation. So when somebody does come up and offer them a big profit on their 50 million, so let's say someone comes in and offers them 400 million or 500 million, whatever it is, they're going to go. They're going to plough the minimum amount possible into that stadium up to that point. So the question really is, will any new owner that comes in want to flatten the stadium and build a brand new purpose-built one? I think the short answer to that is no. I just don't see that there would be any point in them doing that whatsoever, because it would cost a fortune. And when I say a fortune, I think it would cost about £1 billion. Now, with the exception of maybe Sheikh Mansour at Man City, maybe Abramovich in his early years before his wife took half of his money, I do think that anybody that comes in is looking at it as an investment. Maybe the Qataris, who own Paris Saint-Germain, of course, maybe if they were looking for a Premier League club, then they might chuck money at it. But I think you're going to need a benevolent owner that's going to just come along and just knock the stadium down and spend £1 million because the fans don't like the fact that it's miles away from the pitch, which it is. What I do think will happen, as I say, they will sell, and I think they'll probably sell to Tripp Smith. Otherwise, why would he give a 10 million interest-free loan to people that are not really his buddies? He's not known them for years or anything like that. He's clearly done it so as when the deal becomes appropriate, basically when Sullivan don't have to pay a percentage over to the London Mayor's office or the LLDC or whatever incarnation it's in, when they can sell the club, the West Ham, and keep maximum amount of the profit, I think that's when Tripp Smith will come in, and that's when Tripp Smith will buy it. But American investors, I think they often struggle with the English Premier League as a whole, because in the US you've got the draft system, there's no relegation. It's not the same as it is over here, and they don't tend to plough unlimited sums of money in. For every Henry, who's what's his name? Henry? I think his name's Henry at Liverpool. For every Henry, there's a Hicks and Gillette. Put it that way. You also had, I think it was Randy Lerner. Again, didn't have a good time. There was the guy at Sunderland, Ellis Short, and not particularly good. These are investors. And then, of course, you've got the guy at Fulham who's tried to buy Wembley. That didn't work out. I think Fulham have had 2 relegations since that guy took over. So I don't think an American is going to come in and plough loads of money in. The only person that's going to plough money in, as I say, is if Qatar come and take over, or possibly one of the Chinese. But again, they're going to want a return on their investment. And there's just no profit involved in them in flattening the stadium. What I do like to think would happen is, though, is that somebody would come in and they would actually build UK Athletics a home, or they would upgrade Crystal Palace. I don't mean a football ground, I mean the Athletics Stadium. Because UK Athletics have got as much a stake in that stadium as we have. It was built for the Olympics. They paid into the initial fund, and the Olympics was a great success. The Olympics was brilliant. I mean, it's probably the most successful thing this country has done in sporting terms. And it was brilliant. And Athletics deserves a home, particularly as it paid in it. It paid up front before West Ham were even a twinkle in the stadium's eye. So whoever comes in is going to have to pay to upgrade Crystal Palace. Daniel Levy knew that. That's why when he tried to buy the Olympic Stadium, he knew that you really had to keep the Athletics family happy. Another big stadium for Athletics was Sheffield. And Sheffield is now closed down. They've got no stadium there now. So it's very important that they get somewhere to go. But by the time they are out of the equation, then the stadium doesn't have to be a dome. And that is key. That is why we're so far from the pitch, because it needs to be squared off. So I think someone has to come in, they have to get rid of them, and then they have to square off the stadium. I think the best that we can hope for is that anybody that does come in has a lot of money and wants to curry favour with the fans. And they're willing to square off the stadium and move the stands forward permanently. Because it's not retractable seating, but the back and forth of the seats is killing the stadium operator, which takes me to probably the biggest point of the lot. The stadium operator will have to sell the stadium, and it will have to be to West Ham. It is not viable. They are making massive losses year after year. You've got Mayor Sadiq Khan, who is under huge pressure at the moment because of crime and because of everything else that's happening in London. He really needs to spend his budget on police. He really needs to spend it on more doctors, on nurses, on infrastructure. The rail link, what's it called? Crossrail is running well over budget, and it is well behind schedule. There's a lot of things in London that need money chucked at them. And I'm pretty sure that at some point, he or whoever his successor is going to get quite annoyed with having to write 10 to 20 million pound cheques every year to subsidise the loss that the stadium is making. And it is making a loss. Now, on the good side, I think it's a miracle that West Ham have gone from 35,000 fans at Upton Park to regularly getting in excess of 50,000. I don't know, it's 60,000 capacity. There's never 60,000 in there. There's really not. But I think it would be fair to say regularly we exceed 50,000. That is huge. That's massive. You've already seen with Tottenham in a few of the games, they've started to struggle. And the reason they've started to struggle is because they've built this wall. I think they call it the wall. They've tried to copy Borussia Dortmund. And the idea of building this one Kop-style stand that goes from the front of the pitch, very close, a very impressive stadium, don't get me wrong, and it goes all the way to the back. The reason to build that is to create a bit of atmosphere, to make it intimidating. The trouble is what they've done is they've priced the fans out of it. So what you've got a lot of new fans in there because they're charging £800-900 a season ticket. Those should be the cheap seats. They've almost gone, half the way of following the Borussia Dortmund model, but not the full way, because Borussia Dortmund is very, very affordable. They've got tons of fans in there who can afford to go. I can't tell you how much it costs in Germany to go to football, but I understand, and I'm guessing here, I understand it's about 20 quid, 25 quid, something like that. Well, that's fine. But when you're asking people for close to £1,000, then all those hardcore loyal supporters, you're not going to get them in there. And the reason that West Ham gets as many fans as we do is because our tickets are cheap. And they are. I think if you put ours up to the Tottenham prices, I think you'd see 40,000 fans there, if you're lucky. So there's an argument that if they do knock the stadium down and rebuild it, they're never going to get that money back, because they can't rebuild a 60,000 seater stadium that's close to the pitch and then start charging whatever, £1,000 a season ticket, the cheapest season tickets being the price that our Arsenal's. They're still going to need their £300 season ticket. They're still going to need a £400, a £500 season ticket. They're still going to need what was promised at the start, affordable football. And it is affordable. But there's a concession. You're paying a price for that affordability. And that is, you're not really watching the football in a football stadium. Now, the day out, we do the boats, as many of you will know. The day out itself is a good day out, I think, anyway, certainly for us. We go down the boats, we meet up with friends, we go to the stadium, and as a day out, it's good. Actually, in the stadium, sat down, you get to know the people around you. There's plenty of room to move and have something to eat and something to drink at half time. So from that point of view, the stadium is good. But actually, when you get in there are times in the second half, particularly if we're attacking the other end of the pitch, when I can't tell. I'm always asking somebody around who passed that, who did that. And as soon as the play gets beyond the halfway line, you do tend to watch it on the big screen, because otherwise you just don't know. They're tiny little dots. You know the stadium's big because if someone hits the post, you see the ball hitting the post and you get the sound about 2 seconds afterwards. So you know it's a big, big area because the light is clearly travelling faster than the sound. There's a lot wrong with it and a lot needs rectifying. But my point is, for somebody to knock it down, spend £1 billion, they're getting no return on that. And people that take over football clubs want a return. They're doing it for a return. They're doing it because the TV deal is big. They're doing it because actually Premier League clubs are starting to make a profit. And that's why a lot of these rich people are buying Wolverhampton Wanderers and getting them promoted. Look, Sheffield United, it pains me to say, have just been bought out by very, very rich people. It's easier for them to do that. It's far easier for them to do that than pay the 350 million that Mike Ashley wants. Even though it's a massive club, the stadium's all done. It's all ready. But if you buy Newcastle, number one, you're going to have to pay the premium that Mike Ashley wants. Number two, you're going to have to rebuild the team. You're going to have to put 100, 200 million. It becomes quite expensive. In many respects, you're better off, I don't know. Take an example. You're better off buying Nottingham Forest or something like that and throwing 30, 40 million at it and gambling you get promoted. Because if you do get promoted, you're going to get 160 million plus your parachute payments. It's almost worth 300 million to you. It's worth the gamble. If you can get promoted and you can stay there and you can do what Bournemouth have done, who do also have a foreign owner, then you're making a lot of money every year. It's a far, far safer bet. And you can get Bournemouth. You can then look at the stadium. You can stick another 4,000 seats on or something like that. Absolutely great. The one feather that we have in our cap at West Ham is the fact that Stratford City, the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, is, as the Americans would call it, prime real estate. It's a good place to be. There are businesses, there are flats, there are things going up left, right and centre. The rate at which the building work is going on there is astounding. There's always new things popping up just by the boats. They're building a whole load of new stuff there. The promenade is going to be beautiful by the time it's finished. As I walk into the stadium, it's very, very good. And this is why the club has been branded as such. This is what all the London thing was about. West Ham, London, the London team, they want it to be a London franchise. They want it to be appealing to whoever buys it. So whoever buys it is buying into the whole London thing, buying into that stadium being situated exactly where it is, and then going on from there to do something. But as I say, unless we get a massive, one of the top 2 or 3 richest people in the world who wants to buy West Ham as their plaything and actually thinks, you know what, I'm going to get the fans on side. I'm going to knock this stadium down and I'm going to build one basically like Tottenham's. Then I think we're stuck as we are. And do not rule out the possibility that as much as it was the plan for Gold, Sullivan and Brady to get in, to move to the London Stadium and to get out with what, as business people, they would call an exit strategy, do not be surprised if the climate has changed somewhat and they do not get the money that they want. That actually the offer is not there. And actually, even though they didn't want to be stuck with it for years and years, they find themselves stuck with us as West Ham fans, and we found ourselves stuck with them, and nothing ever changes.